Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for today's video because I'm going to be doing another collab with my girl Hersa. We are going to be talking about our indie palette wish lists and doing a little get ready with me as well. I picked out one of Hersa's iconic looks from her Instagram and she picked out a look from my Instagram, and neither of us know the look that the other one chose, so it's going to be a little bit of a fun surprise. So in today's video I'm going to be recreating one of her eye looks and chatting with you all about some indie palettes that have been put on my radar. And I also asked over on my Instagram if any of you all had any palettes on your wish list, so I'm going to be sharing that as well. Just a quick note before we start, I know Black Friday is coming up, sale season is about to be upon us. Please do not feel any pressure to buy any of these palettes or anything at all. I personally am still on a no buy through the end of 2025, so I'm not going to be buying any of these this year either. This is just for fun. Also, I'm going to put the products that I'm putting on my face down in the description box below, because I'm not always good at multitasking when I'm filming, so it's kind of hard for me to mention exactly what I'm using and get ready and talk about all the things. So if you're curious about the products, definitely check out the description box. Also, look at my nails. Aren't these so cute? I have not done press-ons in a while, but I was not feeling like a baddie today, and I really need to feel like a baddie to do a collab video with Hersa because she is the biggest baddie I know. So sometimes having pretty nails can help. These are from Glamnetic, and my friend Kim gave me these, and I think they're really cute. Although it's been a really long time since I did press-ons or had long nails at all, so I kind of like don't know how to act and use my fingers. My hands feel way too fabulous for how my face currently looks, so we need to fix that. Actually, as I'm thinking about it, I think I'm gonna do my eyes first because the look that I'm recreating, which I will put a photo in, is very structured. Hersa loves a kind of sharp winged shape for her eyeshadow, and it looks so good on her. So I think I'm actually going to do eyes first so that we have the opportunity to clean them up and get that really sharp line before moving on to the base makeup. I absolutely love this spicy neutral look. I mean, there were so many looks on Hersa's page that I could recreate, but this look just does something to me. I feel like it's very her. And also, I think I have the perfect shadows to recreate it. So fingers crossed I can do this look justice because it is so stunning and I'm obsessed. For the majority of the look, I'm going to be using the Oden's Eye Sea Talk palette in collaboration with Lauren May Beauty. In her look, she used shadows that I don't have. She used the Cheery Up, I never really know how to say that. Is it Cheery Up? Palette for her mattes, and then she used a Touch of Glam single in the shade For Real Though across the lid. I feel like this taupe shimmer in the Sea Talk palette called Smoky Pearl is actually really close to that Touch of Glam shade, and this matte here called Dolphin Tail looks really similar to the shade that's in her crease. So that's what I'm going to be using along with some other just matte shadows. For the matte shadows, I am of course going to be using my Jason Wu Pearl Darling palette. This is like my go-to palette for neutral mattes these days. So I've scooted myself over slightly so that I have room to put in pictures of some of the palettes that I have my eye on in terms of a wish list. Again, not necessarily saying I'm going to be buying all of these. I'm definitely not going to be buying all of them, but they are beautiful palettes, many of which are from brands that I've always wanted to try. Let's start by talking about Unearthly Cosmetics because I have my eye actually on two palettes from them. The first being the Gargoyle palette. Just looks like such a gorgeous, cool toned color story. I love the range that we get in this palette, from really, really light mattes and sort of like icy light shimmers to really, really deep mattes and some deeper shimmers as well, going down into like the deeper browns, the deeper plum. There's a really deep navy shade and a black as well. It looks like there are some shifty shades, a good selection of almost like neutral shades, like spicy neutrals, mixed in with some more colorful shades. It reminds me a bit of like a grown-up, grungier version of the Beaute Cosmetics Blueberry Muffin palette, which has been one of my most loved palettes in my collection, but definitely is a little bit limited in terms of the tones that it has. I think that's the one thing that really draws me in about this palette, is just how much variety there is. And I can see the way that this could pull a little bit more warm tone neutral with the shade like Ancient Spire in the crease and that sort of like more goldy shimmer Guardian on the lid. Or you could do almost like the look that I'm trying to do today with the shade Deep Sleep, which is like that nice earthy gray with the sort of taupey purple of Mystic Stone over the top. I feel like for a palette with 18 shades, you have endless variety and different kinds of looks that you can do. I also just read that these palettes, I guess all their palettes, are fully magnetic and you can remove the pans. I did not know that, but that's also really exciting to me, to pull out shades to make little like build your own palettes and custom color stories. It might be interesting to see how close I could get to a dupe of this palette. Really, for all of the palettes in this video, I wonder if you all would be interested in seeing me try to dupe any of them, because I feel like I probably have more tones in this kind of color story than I think. So let me know if that's something you all would like to see me do. I'm just gonna go in with that shade Dolphin Tail from the Oden's Eye Sea Talk palette in my crease. I feel like this look is going to get real smoky real fast, but Hersa loves a dramatic look, so we are going for it today. Speaking of dramatic looks, the other palette that I definitely have my eye on is the Sorceress Smoke palette. Again, just tones that I absolutely love and find myself gravitating to in my own collection, but in slightly different variations than what I feel like I have. Got some nice earthy neutrals in this palette, but we also have some really cool greens. Like, I feel like for the amount of neutrals that are in here, you would almost expect the greens to be more olivey, mossy, and earthy, but they went for this sort of like sagey matcha color story with the greens that are in here that I think is really, really pretty and super interesting. If I cover up the greens in this palette, it does look like a pretty standard neutral palette. So I definitely feel like I could talk myself out of this one a lot more easily than the Gargoyle, but I still think that this color story is absolutely beautiful. And when you look at the swatches, it does appear to be a little bit more special than it might look in the pan, because even those neutral shades seem to have some shifts to them. I don't know. I haven't even watched a single video on the Sorceress Smoke palette. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a video of somebody actually using this palette. I think because I'm afraid if I did, I would really, really want it. So maybe I need to see these shadows in action to determine if they're actually as unique as they seem. But just from a straight up color story perspective, it does look like it is very much up my alley and something that I could potentially get a lot of use out of in terms of just creating spicy neutral looks. If you have either of those palettes from Unearthly, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. If you get use out of them and love them, if you don't think they're worth the hype, your thoughts on the Unearthly formula as well, because I've never tried it. I'm just gonna take this lighter gray from the Jason Wu palette to make sure my crease is nice and blended out here. And then dipping back into that shade Dolphin Tail with a little bit more of a compact brush to really build up the outer corner. Also, I recommend, if you are placing an order with Unearthly and you like kind of fun and funky lip shades, to check out what they offer in terms of lip products, because they have some really unique shades. And if I ever do end up placing an order with Unearthly, there are definitely some things I want to take advantage of, because they've got all kinds of really cool like shifty iridescent shimmery lipsticks and really cool toned lip glosses and lip liners, which you all know I love, and Hersa does too. That is one area of my makeup collection that I would like to explore further, is like really fun and funky lip products. Maybe not for everyday going to work purposes, but definitely to complement some of my more creative and colorful and grungy eye looks. Okay, I'm feeling like my matte situation on my eyes is looking good, so I'm gonna go in with my NYX glitter primer. I didn't really think this through with the nails. I'm so not used to having nails be a factor when I'm doing my makeup. I'm gonna take Smoky Pearl from the C-Talk palette and just pack that on all over the lid. This is such an interesting shade because when you pair it with purples, it looks purple. And when you pair it with neutrals, it looks taupe, which I felt like I could see in the shade that Hersa has on her lids in that photo. It almost had like that tiniest little hint of a purpley undertone, but the way that she paired it with the cool tone neutrals makes it look like the most delicious sparkly taupe. And I feel like the shade from the C-Talk palette is also the most yummy taupe shimmer ever. Next up on the wish list, we have Blend Bunny. Now, I have never tried Blend Bunny, and I feel definitely in the minority in terms of the fun eyeshadow community because they are known for their really colorful eyeshadow palettes. And they're known especially for their mattes, I think. I have successfully resisted a lot of the Blend Bunny palettes that have come out over the years. Right now on their site, the All Done Up palette is on sale. I have considered that palette many, many times because I really, really love the kind of wearable, neutral-ish take on color, like a very approachable take on color. And I also love the way that the palette is laid out in terms of kind of gradient. I love how deep it goes, again, how light it goes. I love the way the shimmers look, that they're almost like these shifty iridescents. So that one, of course, if someone gave it to me, I would be thrilled to have it. But the thing that really has challenged me with Blend Bunny is the Ellis Atlantis collection from this year. So the Ellis version 2 collection. First of all, I love Ellis. I love Glow Up, and I watched Ellis on Glow Up. I love Ellis's makeup style, and I just really feel like they did something with this collection. It seems like it was geared toward makeup artists in a certain way. It definitely seems like it was created with makeup artists in mind because you've got the cool tone mattes and the warm tone mattes all in one palette, or you can get the cool tones split out and the warm tones split out. So you have either the 30 pan matte, or you can pick your color story and get the 15 pan matte palettes. And that to me is just genius and very visually appealing. I love the idea of having a matte palette and a shimmer palette split, because so many times you want to build out the mattes, especially as like a working makeup artist. It can be so much easier to have the mattes in front of you and build out the structure of a look, because at least for me, that's what takes the most time. And then being able to just open up a book of beautiful, shifty, iridescent looking shimmers. And because the mattes that you lay down are so neutral, you could just sort of pick any shimmer and you know that it would go and look beautiful, I think is really, really clever. I've heard that Blend Bunny is not really known for their shimmer formula, and some people are not all that impressed with the shimmer formula. But at least from the swatches I've seen, these shimmers do look really nice. I think Hersa actually has this palette, and I really, really wish that we lived closer so that maybe she would let me borrow it and try it out. But it just looks so pretty, and the shimmers just look so ethereal and fairy-like. You've got really, really light, shifty, iridescent shades, but you've also got like more moody, grungy, spicy neutrals. It runs the gamut of having a little bit of color, but also a lot of really wearable shades, and it just looks really nice, I'm not gonna lie. The other palette from Blend Bunny that I have looked at many times is the Longing palette. And this is another one where it's like really speaking to my love of cool tones and also my love of making color feel really approachable and effortless. I love how like desaturated and muted this take on color is in this palette. I love how approachable it makes cool tone, colorful looks feel, but it also has some neutrals in there to help you like ground a look or just do a purely neutral look. You've got different tones in terms of greens, like you've got the more minty teal tones and the more olivey tones. You've got really pretty bluey purples, again, just leaning really hard into that muted, cool tone, desaturated color story that I absolutely drool. I'm drooling right now. I absolutely drool over. Need a better winged liner brush. Again, if you've tried any of these palettes or the formula from Blend Bunny in general, definitely let me know your thoughts. I'm going to work on my little shadow wing with a matte black. Hersa absolutely slays a shadow wing. I'm going to cheat a little bit and clean mine up afterwards, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but I do want to get the angle right because I think she goes out a little bit straighter than I typically do. Next up on the wish list, we have Beaute Bar. I've never tried Beaute Bar's formula either, and I hear nothing but amazing things. I think they just recently launched this Unoriginal Nudes palette. Actually, it might be old news by now, but I am definitely late to the party on this one. I think I pretty much made it clear my love for spicy neutrals and for cool tones, and this one does both. I think this palette does a really good job at being neutral, meaning it straddles the line between cool tone neutrals and warm tone neutrals with some shades that seem like they're going to be straight down the middle, and it looks like a really, really beautiful, easy, but still fun and inspiring color story. And then, of course, there is also the Realm of Fairies palette, which looks just stunning, truly. It does definitely look too similar to the Unearthly Gargoyle palette. Like, I would probably have to pick one or the other. Their color stories are very, very close. Like, just looking at that now, I'm just sort of realizing how close they are. This one does look like it has less neutrals overall, so I feel like this one might win out if I was going to pick one. I would probably want the less neutral of the two, but you all will have to let me know if you were going between the Beaute Bar, Realm of Fairies, and Sassy Fairy palette or the Unearthly Gargoyle, which one you would choose. I'm just taking some micellar water on a little cotton round that I folded in half. I'm going to try to really carefully clean up this outer corner. Another brand that I don't have any palettes from is Fantasy Cosmetica. I have tried a couple of singles from them because my friend Kay lovingly gifted me some singles and I really enjoyed the formula, but I feel like I'm one of the last people on earth who still has not tried their palettes. I fell absolutely head over heels in love with the first palette that they ever released. What is that one called? Oh, the Druid palette. Yeah, that color story, perfection to me. I absolutely, still to this day, lust after that color story. I never pulled the trigger on it just because I have so much makeup, but it's definitely one that has been on my wish list for years at this point, like since the brand started. But I think it's their newest release. I'm not 100% sure at this point because they might be releasing something else for holiday. Maybe the Witch's Familiar is their newest release. The Harvest of Souls palette. Oh my gosh, how gorgeous of a color story is that? Again, I'm really leaning into similar color stories, I feel like, across all of these palettes. Like, it's got some neutrals, it's got some murky, desaturated tones, but it also has some color. But this is just such an exciting pairing of tones to me. I love the brighter greens and the more muted greens. I love the variation on like bluey, purpley, cranberry, plummy kind of shades. This just looks so nice, and the swatches look beautiful. I feel like I could just absolutely tear up some eyeshadow looks using this palette and this color story. If any of you have this palette, I would love to know. Also, I'm almost embarrassed to say this because I just so totally don't need it, but the Glamlight Team Jacob palette, why am I so into this color story? Like, it's basically warm neutrals. maybe not warm neutrals. It's got some warmer shades in there. It's got some cooler shades in there, but it's got some like fun and funky, shifty, green, kind of taupey shades that just look, mwah, they look so nice. I love Glamlight's formula. I've got several palettes from them. I don't need this palette, but there's just something. Like something about these Twilight palettes. Like, I'm not even a huge Twilight fan, but the ColourPop Twilight palette, the original one with the cool blues and greens, and then this one from Glamlight, I'm just like, maybe I should be a Twilight person because these color stories are speaking to my soul. And then I think we should also talk about Nomad Cosmetics, which is a brand I have tried. I was very lucky to receive one of their palettes gifted in a giveaway earlier in the year. Again, my friend Kay, who I was just talking about, was so kind to nominate me for their Project Starfish, and I was able to try the Chamonix Après Ski palette, which is the first time that I'd ever tried Nomad's formula. I definitely really enjoy their formula. The shimmers were a little bit on the drier side, but I actually really like that because sometimes if shimmers are too putty-like, they will crease on the lids. And I really appreciated how blendable the mattes were in the palette that I tried. And since then, they have released a new palette, which is the Pacific Northwest palette. I feel like all of these palettes are versions on the same palette, but it's again got that range from light to dark. It's got a little bit of neutral, a little bit of muted desaturated grungy color with blues and greens and more cool tones. Why are these all the same palette? Looking at them back to back like this, I can definitely see that I am lusting after the same color story in all of these. So actually, if you're trying to talk yourself out of some palettes, this might be a good exercise, because in no world would I need all of these palettes. They all are doing really, really similar things. Because the Nomad palettes are so large, I do think that you get more variation than in some of the other palettes that we've looked at today, and you get more like gradient in color. Again, I feel like this would just be such an easy palette for me to create looks with. Like, I would barely even have to think because the gradient of color is just there for you. It's built into the palette. And you have lighter shimmers, kind of medium shimmers and darker shimmers in all of the colors, blue, green, and like taupey purple. So I just feel like this would be a palette that I could potentially get a ton of use out of. Do I need it? No, none of us need any of this. Maybe I should take inspiration from my own wish list to create like a dream muted, grungy, spicy, neutral with a hint of color palette from what I already have. But I do really love what they have done with this color story, and I have been to the Pacific Northwest. I've been to Washington and Oregon and absolutely love it. So of course the packaging and the inspiration behind it makes me really happy. I would love to go back to the Pacific Northwest and spend more time there because I don't think I got to explore as much as I would have liked to, but what I did get to see, just the trees alone, this palette makes me think back really fondly on those memories and those trips. So love the travel focus of Nomad Cosmetics. I personally love to travel. I am a Sagittarius, and so is Hersa. We have the same birthday, December 19th. Don't forget it. We are Sagittarius birthday twins. And with that comes a love of traveling, and I feel like Nomad Cosmetics really speaks to that part of my personality. So I do get excited when it's a place that I've actually been to and a color story that I really, really love. Okay, last palette before we get to all of the palettes that you all are eyeing is the Give Me Glow Down to Earth. I actually don't think this has come out yet, but this color story, again, I feel like a broken freaking record. What is it with all of these brands releasing such similar color stories? It's just like so many of the other ones that we've seen. A little bit less blue purple leaning though. This one definitely sits more in the neutral and green territory. But again, it's got some of the more olivey, murky, mossy greens, some of the more minty, cool tone greens. It's got neutrals that lean a little bit warmer and neutrals that lean a little bit cooler, but none of them are too warm. Like, the whole palette to me seems to be very, very neutral cool. And that as we've seen, is something that I really love to see in a color story. I actually have some older palettes from this brand that my friend Kim passed down to me that I still have not tried. So I definitely need to play with those palettes first. They are older though, so I don't necessarily expect them to be reflecting the most updated formula from this brand, but it would just be interesting to see. Ooh, uh-oh, I just saw the My Little Teddy Cool palette on their site. That looks gorgeous. It looks very close to the Natasha Denoan retro palette, but even more muted and less kind of plummy cranberry. I feel like I would actually really love this color story version of this more than the Natasha Denoan one, but it is sold out. But that one does look really beautiful. And then they have like a warmer tone version, the My Little Teddy Warm. Ooh, they have some really, really pretty palettes on their site. I think the ones that Kim passed down to me are still available actually. The Bad Witch Club and the Vintage Rose. I'm pretty sure I have both of those palettes. Maybe not Vintage Rose actually, but definitely Bad Witch Club. So yes, I need to play with the Give Me Glow palettes that I haven't even touched yet. But their newest release, the Down to Earth, I feel like a lot of people would really like that one. Okay, that is all of the palettes that I have been eyeing. Now I want to pull up the palettes that you all are eyeing. All right, so one of you actually mentioned the Fantasy Cosmetica collab with Batty Bean, the new one, which I briefly mentioned earlier. So that's the palette called the Witch's Familiar palette. This is a really fun and unique color story, although it does kind of remind me of that one melt palette from back in the day. Oh, the Muerte palette. Yes, I think the tealy kind of blue colors and the red together reminds me a lot of the Melt Muerte palette. I'm not sure if you can get the Muerte palette anymore though, so this might be a good alternative if you had always wanted that one. Plus, you're getting some shades that weren't in that one with the addition of like the purples and pinks. This does look really pretty. It does look like a bit of a more experimental or almost like challenging color story. Like I feel like I would have to think about how I wanted to pair these shades together. But that being said, that's so totally Batty Bean's like vibe. She is so good at pairing unexpected colors together. So I feel like you could create some really unique looks out of this one. I also absolutely love the theme. I love that there's a cat on the front, and I love the Witch's Familiar like theming. That is so cute. I do believe that if I were a witch, my familiar would be a cat for sure. Speaking of melt, someone else said the Melt and Edward Scissorhands collab is on their wish list. Hello? Have I been living under a rock? Okay, this is really cool. I'm not sure how I've missed this completely. Like this just somehow did not end up on my radar. I have to say it's not 100% what I would expect, knowing the theme is Edward Scissorhands. Like I'm looking at the color story and I love the color story. Obviously, it's those same kind of tones that we've been looking at all video long with the blues and the greens and the purples. I'm trying to figure out how that ties in with the Edward Scissorhands theming, but I think I've only seen that movie like once or twice. So maybe I'm just like forgetting something with the coloring of the movie or the significance of these colors. But that being said, I do really love the color story. The packaging is really cute as well. I feel like Melt generally does a really nice job with their packaging, and especially when they do like IP, like the, I remember when the Universal Monsters collection came out, I was so tempted by that collection because the packaging was just really, really true to the original art. And I feel like that's what they've done with the Edward Scissorhands packaging as well. Also, I'm eyeing up the eyeliners in this collection. There's like a pastel lavender and a pastel minty green. Those are really, really nice colors for the waterline and match perfectly with that palette. The blush also looks really nice. I'm not sure what these are. Are these highlighter sticks? Again, where has this collection been? Am I the only one who's living under a rock? These highlighter sticks look really cool. Very like iridescent-y. Or are they eyeshadow toppers? Oh my gosh, they're eyeshadow toppers. Wow, very cool. Have we seen that from Melt before? Those look really pretty. Super iridescent, frosty, icy almost. Again, I don't know if I'm getting the Edward Scissorhands vibe. Like, this is almost giving me more of like Frankenstein vibes, like the new Frankenstein movie that just came out. Interesting. Maybe someone can help me understand the Edward Scissorhands connection with the color story in the comments down below, but regardless of that, the products themselves and the shades and tones that they picked look really, really nice. Another brand that I have not tried before is Lethal Cosmetics. And one of you mentioned that their Adventure Time collab is on your wish list. Adventure Time collab Candy Kingdom palette. Okay, this one does look really fun and very different from the ones that we've looked at so far in this video. 24 pans, great variety of pastels, highly pigmented colorful mattes, and stunning duo and trio chromes. This one is so fun and colorful, and especially if you maybe don't have a ton of color in your collection already, I feel like this one could serve really well as almost like an encyclopedia for any color that you might need for a look. Kind of like the Beauty Bay and Jade Thirlwall palette is for me. But definitely if you are into pastels, if you're into color, and if you're into Adventure Time, I can see this being a really, really fun palette to have. And the fact that they have like duo and trio chromes in here, go off. That is really cool and exciting. Ooh, I just saw the swatches. Wow. I'm really, really into the swatches of their shimmers. Those look stunning. Never tried Lethal Cosmetics. Let me know if you have thoughts on Lethal in the comments. Someone mentioned the new Natasha Denoan Hy-Glam palettes are on their wish list. The texture, eye sculpt, texture, and tone. The only thing that kind of confuses me about these palettes is why the one for deeper skin tones has so many more shimmers than the lighter one. Like, I can totally see myself getting a lot of use out of the lighter palette, especially for like bridal makeup, because a lot of my brides, bridesmaids, mothers of the bride and groom really like those like softer, pinkier tones in the Natasha Denoan I Need a Nude palette. But I find it kind of strange that there's only like one or two shimmer shades in that one, and I'm not even sure if they're full shimmers. Are they shimmers or are they like soft like satins? And then the deeper one has like a whole row of shimmers. So I'm not really sure like the thought process there, but I do think if you are a neutral lover, a working makeup artist, or just a huge Natasha Denoan fan, these do look like really nice staple palettes. Honestly, if I'm honest with myself, the mini eye sculpt is still the one that I would put on my wish list above even the lighter of the two sculpt palettes, just because I feel like that is the perfect all matte mini eyeshadow palette for travel, for saving space, and just for having all of your essentials in one tiny little mini. I love traveling with my Natasha Denoan mini palettes, and I love mattes, as we've learned in this video. Okay, I went ahead and did mascara and lips. For my lips, I used one of my go-to cool tone lip combos to match Hersa's cool tone lip combo in the look. So I used the NYX Suede Matte Lip Liner in the shade Moonwalk. I use this all the time, I feel like in every video. And then I topped it with the NYX Butter Gloss in Cinnamon Roll. And I went back and watched the tutorial that Hersa did for this look on her page. And she actually used one of the shadows from the Matte Ellis Atlantis palette that we were talking about earlier as her blush. What an icon. She also does some finishing touches with this really pretty iridescent yellow shadow. And I went through my collection, and I think the closest thing that I have is citrine from the What's Up Beauty Geodes palette. So she uses that for her brow bone. I'm just gonna dust a little bit of that up on my brow bone, kind of like she did. She uses it as her highlighter, so I'm going to take a little bit of that on a fluffier brush and put that on the tops of the cheeks. And then she also uses it as a tiny little pop just above the outer edge of her winged liner. This is why I love Hersa, because she's so just creative and always adds these really cool little twists to all of her looks. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that, and maybe I should wet my brush for this. Do a little bit of MAC Fix Plus and just get a little bit more of a pop. just because a little something something on the outer edge. Okay, and that is my finished recreation of one of Hersa's iconic looks. How did I do? I feel like I'm just never going to be as cool as she is. But definitely go and check out her tutorial if you would like to see the exact products that she used and how she created this look. If you're not following Hersa, you should be. She is the indie eyeshadow queen of sexy, dark feminine, glamorous eye looks, and she is just a huge makeup inspiration for me. I love her confidence and her power and the way that her makeup really reflects that. I can't wait to see Hersa's video to see what palettes are on her wish list, because she truly has the eyeshadow palette collection of dreams, I'm pretty sure, especially for indie eyeshadow lovers. So make sure to check out her video as well. I'll have it linked in the description box down below, along with all of the products that I used today. But thank you so much for watching today. I hope you had fun hearing about some palettes that I've been eyeing up recently. And thank you so much if you were one of the ones who shared the palettes on your wish list with me. This is just such a fun opportunity to talk about makeup and color stories and packaging, and I hope you all had fun watching it as well. Thank you to Hersa for collaborating with me again. It is always a joy and a pleasure. You are the best. That is it for me today. I will hope to see you in my next video. Bye!